This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Julie Hyman in for Pim Fox. Now, joining us for a CEO sit-down is Dr. Jonathan Rothberg. He's head of Ion Torrent. We've been talking about his technology, which is sort of miniaturized in a way. DNA sequencing made it easier for hospitals and other entities to purchase. Fascinating process of how this happens. So, talk to me a little bit about some of the other uses for this technology. We use the example of the E. coli bacteria that's been spreading across Europe, figuring out the sequence of that, figuring out a test for it. What are some of the other applications? The
two most popular applications are looking at patient samples and looking at about 200 places in this human genome you hear about that are known as cancer hotspots. And what you can do is get a fingerprint or sequence from this cancer, and you can get an idea of which medicine somebody should take and who will best respond to which medicine. So that's one of the most popular uses, and as we're discussing this, that's in use at MGH and MD Anderson to understand cancer and cancer progression, to make diagnostics, and to ultimately make drugs. The other area that's a high priority is genetic screening. So you can understand predisposition to disease, and you can understand, again, who will respond to a drug, who won't respond to a drug. So there's human use, there's agricultural use, and now there's actually a new area, which is sequencing microorganisms that can make fuel. So I like to say you could heal, you could feed, and you could fuel, all based on DNA.
I'm curious, too, when you get to the human part of the equation, with healthcare reform sort of being worked out, how does this fit into that scenario? Because I know there's been a lot of concern about makers of other types of devices and where they're going to fit into the spectrum of what's covered and what's not. Are hospitals going to have to cut back on costs? What are they going to be able to afford?
It's a perfect question. And one of the reasons we were funded by the NIH, and the NIH is so important in funding from the NIH, is they needed a way to quickly understand the genetics of a patient so you can reduce costs. If you give somebody chemotherapy for $50,000 and it's not effective, that's wasted. If your son is rushed to the newborn intensive care unit, you want to know what's going on. So this is the best investment we can make to reduce healthcare costs. Giving people the right medicines, making sure people don't get combinations of medicines that are lethal to them, this is the best way to reduce costs. When we first did the first individual human genome, it cost $1 million, and we did Jim Watson. On these type of chips, within the next 2 years, sequencing will be below $1,000. That will allow it to be a routine part of healthcare, and it will save money. Right medicine, right person, saves money.
Now, at this point, it can't map the entire human genome on this machine, right? Or explain to me exactly, you can do portions of it.
This machine is perfect for portions of the machine, but it is the little engine that could. So we did sequence a whole human genome to show it can be done. But right now, when we talk to people, what matters is the genes you can do something about. So there's 1,000 genes that we know about that cause genetic diseases. You want to look at those thousands. There's 200 genes that are related to cancer. You want to look at those 200. So this machine is perfect for what we know about the world now. And because it's based on semiconductors, it gets better, faster, just like your computers. So 2 years from now, instead of doing that bacteria for $250, you'll do a human for about $1,000. So yes, right now you look at part of the genome because we can act on it. And you want to take action based on information.
Just quickly, before I let you go, I mean, not that this is chopped liver by any means, but you've developed a lot of different technologies. Anything else that you're perhaps looking at developing, or is this what you're devoting your full attention to
I'm 100% focused on this. I believe DNA sequencing will be as common as imaging. You go in, you get an X-ray, you get an MRI, you get a CAT scan. Over the next 7 years, you'll become as familiar with sequencing. You'll go in, you'll get sequenced, and you'll get the right medicine.
Just very quickly, do you have a target as to how many you hope to sell this year?
Well, I'm happy to say, since we're part of Life Technologies and we're now selling around the world, that we are the best-selling sequencing machine in the world. In the next 12 months, we'll be the most popular machine in the world.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks to Jonathan Rothberg, head of Ion Torrent. We'll be right back.